Hey, everybody. It's me, Beth K. Gibbs, producer of Totes Recall, and also person on it.
Nice. Thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome. I just wanted to let everybody know that if they would like to support Totes Recall's pizza habit of eating pizza, this is going off the rails really fast.
You're fine. It's on pizza. You're fine.
Yeah. You can go to patreon.com/TotesRecall.
Nope.
Okay, nope. If you heard the quiet whispers of Dan Jaquette, just ignore
Don't.
that.
Yeah.
And you can check out how to donate there.
Yep.
Okay, but here's the thing. $1 a month really helps us out. Mm-hmm. We can continue making really this quality content. I'm so sorry.
It's
and
fine.
You also get stuff. So it's a win-win
What kind
for
of stuff?
everyone. I don't know. Please I don't want to talk anymore.
Exclusive content. This is Beth. Exclusive content available on the patreon.com. We've done some fun stuff before, like Dracula script readings and talking about droops.
Oh, yeah.
You
get
know what a
bonus
droop is?
content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is also Beth. It helps us do things like our live show that happened
Yeah.
last month.
Yeah. This is also
2
Beth.
months ago.
And it's magical to get support from patrons, from our listeners. And it really fuels us creatively and emotionally as well as financially, which you would not believe our pizza salad budget. So we do appreciate it.
Beth?
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 Thank you, patrons.
Yay!
And future patrons.
Whoa.
Patreon.com/TotesRecall. No.
No.
Totes Recall.
Welcome to Totes Recall, the podcast where we talk about a movie we barely remember, eat pizza and salads. Thank you, patrons, while watching the movie. Come back, watch the movie again for a second time, and then talk about what we learned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My name is Dan.
This is Molly.
I'm also Dan.
And I'm Beth.
And our movie this episode is Contact.
Great. Quick note for the listener. We are sitting in a slightly different configuration, and it freaked my brain out for a second.
Yeah. I just want to point
Because-
out that I had the mic set up properly, and Dan is sitting at Molly's mic, and Molly is sitting at Dan's mic, and it is very confusing.
Right. That's
Do we
what's
need to
weird.
That's
swap?
what's wrong.
I was trying to figure that out because I'm like, Dan doesn't normally make eye contact with me
Oh, right.
while saying his name. It's fine. It's done. We did it.
Okay, we'll change it the second half.
But just so you know, if this podcast sounds super weird,
Yeah, it's because they're
That's
sitting
why.
in different places.
Yeah.
Like if you're like, oh, Molly sounds like she's just off a little
Just
bit. Like
off a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
We made contact with the wrong chairs.
Oh.
Is that what this movie's about?
Well,
Yeah.
the most important thing about this movie is Jodie Foster, isn't it?
Jodie Foster.
Nailed
The
it.
second most important thing is that Matthew McConaughey is in it.
Oh, he's in it too?
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Did not know that.
I hope he drives the Lincoln.
Jody, you going to space or?
What? Yeah.
So this is
I'll work on
Interstellar wasn't his first space rodeo then.
I don't think he goes to space in this one though. I
Does
think
anybody go to space?
Nobody.
I don't remember.
Does she go?
She's a SETI.
I think
Oh,
so.
person?
Yeah. Right.
I'm going to go ahead and make a bet
Ooh.
that at many points in this conversation and while watching the movie, I'm going to confuse this with Arrival.
Nice.
It seems
Yeah.
like the same movie, and I haven't seen Arrival.
What?
Oh,
How can you
Arrival's
say
pretty
it then?
distinct.
Because don't they both have like big discs?
Well, I mean,
Write that down.
That's most
Write that
space
down.
movies.
Big discs.
I mean, I feel like the iconic moment is she's lying on top of her car or lying in the satellite dish itself
Yeah.
Whoa.
and
The big
listening because she's been listening forever and she actually hears something for the first time.
Contact.
And then my guess is that the U.S. government gets involved and they mess things up.
I mean, aren't they already involved? Isn't SETI a government thing?
Is it?
It
I
has to
guess
be, right?
so, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
get
Does
involved
it?
in a unhealthy way.
Like the feds come in, the
Yeah,
FBI
they're like, "We'll take it
or
from
whatever.
here."
Yeah, Mulder and Scully.
and they try to
come in.
push her out, but then somehow she ends up being the only person who can make contact.
Yes.
But in the end, it's just about her connection with her father.
Oh.
That's what I remember.
Is Matthew McConaughey her father?
No, that'd be crazy.
Is he a love interest or fellow scientist?
I thought he was a preacher man.
Oh.
But maybe he's a
So is
science
he an
preacher man.
antagonist?
Maybe he's
who's
a science preacher.
So she's
A
science
science
and he's
preacher?
fake?
You know, where he's like, got a degree in astronomy, and then I found the Lord. I'm trying. I'm working on it.
You're saying he's an ex-science.
I think I feel like he's like a preacher man, but he's the kind of preacher man who's not like boo science all the time. He's more just like, I have questions, and I'm not just gonna blindly be like, okay, there's no God and science. I think it's sort of like, because Jodie Foster's like, boo God, space.
Because she drops through some big circle orb, and she has this whole experience, but nobody else knows it or experiences it.
You are just
and they
ruining
think
this
she's
for
lying?
people who don't
Does
remember
this
this
seem
movie.
right?
Yes,
I don't know.
That's like the big
Is that the big surprise?
surprise.
Oh,
So she
God,
does
I'm
get
sorry.
contacted?
I mean, everyone gets contacted. The whole premise of the movie is that a signal that is clearly made by someone comes to Earth.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, holy shit, something is happening. And it's all about how the world reacts to it, but then more specifically, because it's a movie, and that's how movies work, how this particular person reacts to it.
Yeah.
But okay. Doesn't she get contacted as a child?
Oh.
I thought she was just into space as a child.
Do aliens kidnap her dad?
Who's
But her
Matthew
dad
McConaughey?
is dead, right?
Yes.
I think so.
Or abducted?
Or abducted.
Whoa! Big
And then
discs.
Abducted.
Come on.
Oh.
Then she wants to contact. Well, then she's listening because I thought she was listening because maybe her dad was contacted or something, and he told her about it, and she's like, "That's what I want to do."
I don't know.
I mean, I'm gonna just like preface this with like I don't remember anything about this movie.
Perfect. Yeah.
I remember her being in like a wooden room.
Mm-hmm.
Like the room is like has like pine walls,
That sounds right.
right?
Yeah.
Really?
I think that's like her childhood bedroom. Or
Yeah.
something.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
That's very specific.
I feel like I saw this at a sleepover, like at my friend's house.
Do you
Yeah,
think
what
you
year
stayed
do you
awake the
think?
whole time?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to bet she's in a field at some point.
Okay.
Okay.
A wide shot, J Fos in the field.
J Fos in the field. Nice. Ooh, Dan's bet. Busey is in this movie.
Busey?
Busey. Not G Busey. Busey.
Got it.
The son?
Probably. Yeah.
Is that the other Busey that
think so,
is
yeah.
on stage or screen?
I believe so.
Busey the younger.
Yes.
So do they build a machine that
Yeah.
they can like talk to the aliens, and then she
The-
goes into that hula hoop?
Like the
There's a
machine.
hula
The
hoop?
signal they figure out is the machine.
Oh.
Like the signal that's being sent to them is instructions on how to build the machine.
Oh.
So it's like if you got a radio signal that was like, here's how to build the TV, and then we can Skype, is the idea.
But you don't Skype on a TV.
Well, if you plug your laptop in with an HDMI cable, you could use the monitor.
That would be in the instruction.
Yeah, it's in the instructions. Okay, fine. A monitor with a webcam.
All right. Okay.
I want to go ahead and be bold and say I don't think it's going to pass the Bechdel-Wallace.
Whoa.
That is bold.
That's bold for a
A
female-led
female-led film.
movie.
But it does seem like one of those movies where like that's part of the movie. You know what I mean?
Oh, is
like
that she's
she's a
alienated?
lady in the science field, and now all these men are trying to tell her what to do.
Like Silence of the Lambs,
Yeah.
except for science.
Except for science and like
Science of the
higher up
lambs,
in the
am I right?
government. Because I'm sure at one point what? What'd you say? I didn't.
Science of the Lambs.
Very good. Yes. Because I'm pretty sure Dan's bet she at one point speaks directly to the president of the United States.
Whoa.
Who I'm
Yes.
guessing is a dude in this movie. Because I think this is supposed to take place in like contemporary times, not oh boy, it's the future times.
Yeah, like a George Cromwell type.
Oh yeah, what year did this come out?
I know it, but before I knew it, I was going to guess 1995.
You don't have to do this. You've done this in other episodes too,
Really?
where you say you know the year and then just guess a year anyways.
But I guessed before I looked it up.
Okay.
Because I'm the one who was going to play the movie.
Okay.
I had to look it up
Right.
to find it.
Yeah.
And it's like the first thing they tell you.
I know.
So before I did that, I made a conscious choice
Okay.
to think about when I thought it came out. And I was like post-college,
Yeah.
and I chose 1995.
Okay. I guess what I'm saying is don't feel, when you know you're the one that has to look it up, don't feel obligated to still guess what year it came out.
But that's part of the fun.
Okay. If you're having fun, then great.
My guess is 97.
I'm going to say 96.
Okay, I also know what it is, but I didn't pre-guess. So I'll say 97.
Yay!
Well, now I'm feeling doubtful. That is.
So it was a little further after college than I realized. But I
Yeah.
definitely saw it in a theater.
I didn't. I don't remember when I watched it, but I definitely watched it on home video release.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I don't remember if I just watched it on my own in college because I'm like, I've heard of this movie, or if it was like, hey, let's watch this movie with someone else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel confident I've seen it. Yep. But I don't know the circumstances, and my confidence is eroding quickly as we're talking about it.
Oh, are you going to be Molly in this one?
I might be.
Ooh, nice.
Wow.
I also read the book years after watching the movie, and I feel like remembering the book is pretty close to the movie.
Wow.
Or like they're pretty, like they parallel each other quite a bit, which is surprising.
Yeah.
I
So
didn't
is
even know there was a
most of the movie is people not believing Jodie Foster? Or
No, the movie is like we have made contact, and now the most of the movie is what are we going to do about it,
okay.
right? Because like the rubes, just those regular people, are like losing their minds, right? Like would actually happen. Like I
Okay.
remember this movie actually being like pretty plausible, just in terms of like how society would actually respond to
Okay.
extraterrestrial
People
contact.
are freaking.
People be freaking in various ways.
Yeah.
And I think McConaughey, this is why I think McConaughey is a preacher man, because I feel like McConaughey is like the character in the movie who's like, oh, let's consider the theological implications of this, right? Because it's suddenly redefining how we know the universe.
Right.
But does that redefine our spiritual beliefs? Because do our spiritual beliefs depend on us being alone in the universe or something like that?
Oh, man.
This might be mostly in the book,
That's intense.
but
Oh, have y'all seen the documentary about flat earthers?
no.
No.
Okay, it is fascinating.
Yeah.
It is a very, very interesting subset of people. And when I was watching that, I was thinking about like what the appeal of a space movie like this is, like Arrival or Contact. And to me, it's like a more grown-up version of that fantasy that at some point in your life, in your regular life, something is going to happen that is so magical and out of your regular normal life that is going to be transformative, much like going into Narnia, right?
Sure. Yes.
Sure.
And that's sort of what happens with Jodie Foster in this movie. But then when I was watching this documentary about flat earthers, I was like, oh, if you accept the idea that the world is flat when you've been told it's round your whole life, part of the enticement for that idea is it means all kinds of things are possible that you didn't think were possible before.
Sure.
And your ordinary life doesn't have to be your ordinary life. It could be something greater or different. Yeah.
Yeah. It's also like
I don't follow.
like it's like they've created their own Narnia, because it's like,
Yeah.
oh, people think the world is this way, but I know it's actually this way, and I've like the scales have fallen from my eyes. I'm special.
Or it's just
my
like the
life
Matrix.
is special.
Like I've now taken the
Yeah.
whichever color pill.
yeah, which
the red one?
which has become problematic for
Oh,
similar
right.
reasons.
Yeah.
With like it's the same perspective, but in a much more like disgusting way.
Yeah.
But it's the same idea.
I've seen the truth.
I've seen the truth.
With all these other idiots.
Yes.
Whatever happened to that guy who was going to build a rocket to prove that the Earth was flat?
He did.
Did he go up in the rocket?
Yes.
Wow.
I think so. Or maybe I don't remember. He's done it at least once before he became big time newsman.
Yeah.
He did it once and like almost died.
Sure.
I can't remember if he actually launched again, but he became like he sort of like pivoted to flat earthing to get more funding.
Yeah.
Because like the first time he did it, he just did it because he's a weirdo who's like, I'm gonna build a steam rocket or whatever. But then no one wanted to fund him, so he's like, maybe cynically, is like, oh, I'm gonna do it to prove this thing that this niche amount of online people would be willing to pay money for.
yeah. Is the mainstream flat Earth belief within that still like we're on a turtle? Like is that
No.
part of it too?
No, I
it's
think
just
it's
flat,
just
and then
disc
there's
in
a
space?
disc.
there's a disc. It's a projection.
Oh, it's
What?
also a
It's a
projection?
projection.
wait. What's a projection?
What's a
The
projection?
sky.
Oh, from where?
Well, they set it up.
Who?
Exactly.
Okay.
The government.
Because if you knew,
Is
that's
the
just how
projection-
tricky they are.
Is the projection coming from Earth or outside of Earth?
I don't know.
Okay.
I guess outside would make
I don't
more
know.
sense.
Well, I don't know. It's like a planetarium, right?
Right.
Where
What's
it's
it projecting on?
Ooh.
onto the dome. They have words for all of this.
So
There's
they're-
an explanation for all of
it's
it.
flat with a dome.
Yep.
So it's like they
So it's
took
like a half sphere then.
Yeah, they took the flat Earth and then the like celestial spheres theory that happened back in many centuries ago, where they thought the planet was surrounded by a bunch of like giant crystal spheres, and that's why stars and stuff were there.
Sure.
And they kind of they sort of made it their own or
But what's
something.
fascinating is I think honestly, watching this documentary, it is more accessible science to try to prove that the Earth is flat or that it's not flat actually makes scientific discovery something that you personally, with like a high school or maybe college education, could test. Whereas actual astrophysics and the higher sciences are so inaccessible to so many people. I think that's the other enticement of it.
Yeah, and I think part of it is also like, I mean, from what I've seen when people make comments about, when I see that sort of shit where it's just like, oh, I'm so high up in this plane, how come I can't see the curve or whatever? Like, I think it's also partly a way for people to cope with the fact that like they have been told how truly massive the universe is and how truly insignificant they are. So like their solution to that is that's not true. Like the world is not so massive that I cannot see the curvature of it, which is the actual reason you can't see the curvature of it, because you're a tiny speck on a giant ball of rock. But their theory is like, no, it's because this is all a lie.
Yeah.
They can't accept that it's that big.
Yeah. So I think not being alone in the universe is a similarly enticing idea.
For sure. But also teens,
Oh, yeah.
the earth is round.
Yeah.
Don't read
For
a
sure.
book. Just
Read a
no,
book.
wait. I cut myself out the worst possible time. Yes, read a book.
Yeah. Read a book. Do some at-home science experiments.
Hey, yeah.
Hey, you don't have to do astrophysics to have fun with science. Make a fucking volcano with baking powder. No, that's not teen thing.
That's not a teen thing. That's like 4th grade thing.
Yeah, but I don't know what teen science is. Do some of that.
Teen science.
Gravity,
Teen science? Oh, yeah. Gravity, like drop a feather and a
hammer
something.
on the moon.
What?
What?
That's the thing, the feather and the hammer on the moon.
Feather and the hammer.
Can I tell you some teen science?
Yeah.
Yes.
Get some
Absolutely.
Mentos and some Diet Coke.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
Put them in your mouth at the same time.
No.
Oh, teens.
Beth, what are you doing?
Yes.
That's teen science.
No.
Yeah.
I saw a teenager do that, and it just like projected out of his mouth, and it was hilarious.
That sounds awesome.
That's actually pretty
And you
cool.
can like spew on your friends.
yeah. It was. I don't think it was dangerous.
Yes.
I just thought,
Just don't
He's
plug your
fine.
nose, maybe?
Yeah,
don't
probably
swallow it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
jeez.
yeah.
Be very
Just use
uncomfortable.
your nope. Never.
Nope.
I was gonna say just use your mouth as a vessel, but it sounded weird. I didn't like it.
All right, teens, do science in your mouth.
Yep. That's the lesson here.
That's not what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
I agree with Beth.
Please don't quote me on that.
Okay, so the movie Contact.
Yes.
Yeah.
J Fos is like, hey, it's this way. Everybody else is like, it's the other way. Like, what is happening in this movie?
It's just I think a lot of it is just like, she's saying, here's what I figured out. And then a
Yeah.
bunch of people are saying, here's what we should do with that information. And she's sort of like the Indiana Jones that belongs in a museum of this data that's being broadcast to the planet, where
Yeah.
she's like, let's just make it, and who cares like who controls it? Because I'm sure the president is like, oh, American satellites received it. It's an American,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Or
I'm
like
sure
it
there's
could
some
be a Russian signal building a bomb.
Yeah, or like I think there is some sort of arms race thing where it's like once the signal's decoded, it's like who's going to build whatever this is first? Because what if it's like a super weapon to conquer the planet or whatever?
Right.
Whereas J Fos is like science. Let's just do science.
Yeah.
So this does sound a lot like Arrival, in that there's a lot of stuff going on. But
Yes.
my question about this is,
Yes.
Best bet. A
Sounds
lot of
unique
stuff
to the
going on.
movie.
is it okay? I remember a lot of scenes of her in her childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Does
Oh.
it keep flashing back, or does it start in her childhood and then progress?
I do not remember.
Because
remember.
in Arrival, it's all over the place, the
Yeah.
timeline.
But in Arrival, time is actually like part of the plot. Whereas
Spoiler
this
alert.
one, sorry. In this one, I don't think it is. I don't remember. But yeah, they definitely deal, because there's this whole subtext of her relationship with her father. But I don't remember if they like keep coming back to it or if it's just at the beginning where she's like, I'm a kid, space.
Where's,
and then they cut to
where's Mom?
J Fos. Ooh, great question.
Wow.
Well, that's where I think it might pass the Bechdel Wallace. I think that her mom
You
is
think there's
still
old mom?
around. Yeah.
Okay,
Right?
Cool.
maybe.
Well, okay. I'm also going to make a bold bet that she or her father was contacted in the past
Sure.
somehow.
I love it.
Like a spooky, like everything's jiggling in your room at night.
Yeah.
And
Or
she's
like
been desperate to prove it her whole
or like
life.
well
kinda thing?
or like maybe he was desperate to prove it and then he dies and so she's like carrying it on
Sure,
somehow.
sure,
like
sure.
there's somehow a connection there
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
based off of me not remembering anything
That's
about this
great.
movie. This is all about how movies work.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
I
cannot
agree.
remember for the life of me any scene where she's a child, but that makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm. I
And
think there's at least one.
And
I
if
agree with
think
Beth.
about it too hard, like I start to get her lying in a satellite confused with Dazed and Confused, where they're lying on the football field.
And McConaughey's there.
Oh, and Pump Up the Volume
What?
also had a football field scene where people are listening. That was to the radio.
Pump Up the Volume? Is that a movie?
Yes, it was terrible. Christian Slater was in it. It
Yeah.
was his follow up to Heather's. It was unfortunate.
Did she have a sister?
Who?
J
Jodie
Fos.
J
Foster?
Fos?
Oh, I don't know.
Wow.
I feel like she has a female family member that she talks to about her dad.
Yeah, now that you've said it out loud, I will double Dan on this bet that there is some female family member who at some point is like, Jody, stop sciencing so hard. You're hurting yourself or
Yeah.
something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Like you're losing connections with other people because of your sciencing or
Yes.
something. Yeah.
I would love to lose my bet against the Bechdel Wallace test.
Sure.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's possible in 1997 to have a female lead and no conversation with another
I agree.
woman.
Sure.
It's very
I
possible.
agree. Especially
It
a
still happens today.
sci-fi, like a science fiction movie for sure.
So she falls in a hula hoop and then is in space?
We don't know.
Oh, it's like a woo, something happened
Yeah.
kind of thing?
But she disappears from
No, I-
Earth?
I don't think so. I think the whole point is she just falls through and lands. So from our perspective on the outside, it looks like nothing happened. But from her perspective within her mind,
Yeah.
a whole journey happened.
Yes.
Oh.
But it's like space-time fuckery where
Yeah.
you're not really sure what happened.
Is that how it
can't-
ends?
Can't prove anything.
Oh,
Yeah,
I don't
think
know.
it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Her dad comes back
But there's like
through the
some
bookcase.
yes. 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 Her dad is her ghost who taught her how to build a giant machine. That,
Whoa.
I just remembered this. Dan's bet. There is a man who lives in a plane
Whoa.
in this movie.
Really?
Yeah. Years before Charlize Theron's character in that Fast and Furious
He
movie.
lives in a plane that flies.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, like
not
Air
just
Force
like
One?
a junkyard
No,
plane.
like
Is
he-
he
okay.
like
like-
Woody Harrelson in 2012?
I never saw that. Does he live in a plane in that movie?
He's like a crazy guy in an RV.
Like he's always moving.
Yeah.
I think it's like that,
'Cause
but
the
a plane.
government.
I think it's like that, but plane.
Okay.
I don't know that one.
2012. It's worth it. All right. I got nothing else to say.
Great.
Yeah.
Carl Sagan wrote the book. That's all.
Carl Sagan
Oh,
wrote
really?
the book.
Oh.
This is going to be better than I hope it is.
I mean, I don't think he wrote the screenplay.
Oh.
I
I mean,
think
that's
he was
true.
dead
but if it's,
before this movie was.
yeah, but if it's based off of his writing,
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
probably interesting.
I hope so. I remember liking it when
Carl
I saw
Sagan's
it.
interesting, right?
That's going to be great. Well, we don't, I guess we should bet for real.
If it's going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So I guess my question is how many J Fos pine satellite dishes?
Wow.
So it's a
Wow.
satellite dish like made out of pine boards?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I love
how
it.
many of those do you think you'll
Like
give
she
the movie?
built her own when she was
Yeah.
a child. I
Yeah.
love it so much. Out of her bedroom.
Yes.
What? Oh, me. Again, we're completely sitting in a very weird orientation, and I'm making eye contact with the wrong people at the wrong time.
Contact.
Okay, J Fos Pine satellites. I remember liking this movie a lot because it was interesting and not just like, it's always refreshing to see a space movie that's not like pew 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 space. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there aren't that many. Like even the ones that pretend to be not that, it's at least one scene or two where it's like actually it's pew 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 space. But I think this one is actually like Arrival. It's mostly just kind of like, yeah, there's aliens maybe, but they mostly just, they're just kind of trying to figure each other out. No big deal. Also, McConaughey's in it, and he's charming as shit no matter what he's doing, even when he's playing a creeper, which I don't think he's a creeper this one. I think he's a very charming preacher man.
They got like some chemistry?
They def have chem.
Okay.
Nice. Teams.
Are you writing that down?
Def have
Yeah.
chem.
We may even play our favorite game, but I'm not sure because I don't know what church he belongs to. So, anyway, this is a tangent. 4 wooden pine satellites.
Wow.
Yeah.
Feeling optimistic.
Great.
I feel like when I saw it, I didn't understand it because I was too young to understand
And
it.
all that peer pressure from the sleepover of everyone else going to bed, right?
Right. Yeah. So I think, but it sounds like it has space in it, which I enjoy, and philosophy, which I enjoy. So I'm gonna go with 4 pine discs.
4 J Fos.
J Fos
Pine satellite dishes.
pine satellite discs.
Dishes.
Dishes.com.
None of this conversation sparked any memories about me watching this movie.
Great.
Wow.
So I am now very concerned I have not seen it.
Awesome.
I guess it sounds like a movie I might like. I think I'm gonna be bold in being a coward.
Yeah.
3. I got no idea. Hey, I like a heady movie about space.
If it
but
turns
also,
out there's manned travel to space, will that affect your score?
yeah, maybe. I mean, to clarify, my problem with Apollo 13 was that they were actual people going up there, putting themselves in danger, and I couldn't figure out a good reason. But a fictional people going in,
That's fine.
all aboard.
Got it. So 3.
Hashtag stay on Earth. Yeah, 3. I don't know. What if it's really long? It sounds like it's just like a lot of people being like, we should do this. No, we should do this.
That
and like
actually-
having
that might be
internal
true.
struggles.
That might be true.
And if it's, I believe it's 2.5 hours long.
Yeah.
That sounds long and boring. So 3.
Great.
Well, I think if it didn't have the power to put a young Beth K. Gibbs to sleep, then maybe it'll be okay, but I am worried about the length as well. I really like Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey, and I want to believe. So I'm going to give it an optimistic 4
Nice.
with the underlying expectation it may end up at 2. Just depending.
Yeah.
Like, I
Wait.
don't know what the pacing is going to be like.
So you're rating it 4, but there's like a secret
It's a classic,
rating.
classic Molly bet hedge where she bets 3 numbers within her bet based on different triggers.
And with that, we're going to press pause, go watch the movie Contact, and we'll be right back. And we're back. We just watched 150 minutes of science
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
that I don't know how I feel about yet, but I will know shortly.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Interesting.
you're still out on it?
I'm still processing a little bit.
On science in general, or just
No, on
the
the
science
movie.
of the movie? Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
You just received the signal. You have to decode it.
Yeah, you have to find the interlaced frames of the story.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, can I try to summarize it in less than
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
60
Yes.
6-second summary.
Yes, I will time you.
Okay, great.
I'll just do it on my fancy watch.
Oh.
It's not that fancy, but it has a
Mine's
stopwatch function.
Vegans
Are you
probably
ready?
designed it.
Yes.
Go.
Starts out, Jodie Foster is a little girl who discovers the joy of science with her dad. She flash forward to when she is a scientist and not taken very seriously, and the patriarchy and the power establishment tries to keep her down. But she does get a signal from outer space, and that turns into mighty global ramifications. And in it, she gets mansplained a lot.
30 seconds.
Matthew McConaughey is there, and he's sort of like a romantic and a god counterpoint to her purely scientific perspective. Anyway, they build this very expensive thing because they receive the blueprints, and they're like all these layers to the signal that they're getting. Where they finally get blueprints, they build them, and she drops through, and 18 hours pass for her, but it is a very short time for everyone else, and then ends with a congressional hearing where she is doubted publicly, and in the end, Matthew McConaughey stands up for her.
Whoa.
Wow.
Wow.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
You
Thanks.
crushed it
pretty
all
good.
while a cat was
Like jumping onto your.
attacking you.
This is true.
She's like right there.
Really like
She's
intense
right up
there for a
there.
second. She probably heard my voice and was like, "I'll save you."
So this movie came out in 1997. I was right. Along with
Nice.
Beth. Good job.
I was right, and I guessed it.
Yeah. I guessed from the knowledge of seeing it earlier today.
Oh,
Well,
an educated
I
guess,
used the
one might say.
scientific method.
process
Good
of
job, us.
elimination.
Yeah, it did have a lot of big discs.
Okay, dishes.
Cave discs.
Come on.
Come on, you know what a dish is.
And we know what you meant by big disc. It wasn't that.
Oh, no, I didn't mean that.
What did you mean by
But
that?
now I know what you think I mean.
Wait,
And
what
yeah,
is it?
What's happening?
What do you think? You think I. Wait, what do.
A different big D word.
No.
Big
Oh.
disc energy.
Yeah, big disc energy.
I mean, kind of. I thought you mean more just like space saucers and shit.
Oh, no.
Oh.
I meant the satellite dishes.
Oh, no.
But I said disc.
Come on.
I kept on saying disc.
Was
It's
that
my
like your
fault.
flat Earth?
I feel like
dish?
disc
No, I just
suggests
said a thing. And it was funny.
Was it funny?
big disc energy is pretty funny.
Yeah. Which I
that
said.
was Beth. So.
Please
you
don't
were
take credit for my
excellent.
joke.
No, I said it. Shut up for a second.
Wait, no. You shut up over here. I just watched men
anyway,
interrupt women for like
Dan's
the last
gonna
2
be
hours.
sent to
I'm
a
gonna take
Dan's
big
gonna be
disc
sent to a
energy.
comedy joke summit as the expert joke
Yeah, I'm
writer.
going to drop through the joke tube now
Yeah.
because of my good
Oh
big
no!
disc
You know what happens
joke energy.
when you go first.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jake Busey
You
comes in.
pours me up.
Oh, I forgot about that whole thing in the summary.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Jake
yeah.
Busey's also
oh,
there.
Yeah, you're running short on time. I think
It was fine.
made
You
the
did
right
really
moves.
good.
Yeah.
Past BC.
Anyway, discs to me, and I think Molly, are more of a flat
Yeah.
circle, like time, Matthew McConaughey.
Or
Um,
like a
What?
or like a frisbee.
Yeah.
Fairly flatter than that.
I just
but
feel like most of the satellite dishes we saw were like way more curved.
Yes.
yeah, they're
Sure,
like
but
a bowl.
if you look at it in 2 dimensions,
Yeah.
why
It's a
would you
disc.
do
Why
that?
would we do
Disc.
that? We learned from Creep Supreme in the Sky that you don't look at it in 2 dimensions.
well, you look at it in a different amount of dimensions than you originally think you should.
Okay.
Oh, jeez.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Also,
okay.
Hitler's there.
Also, Hitler's there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we left out a couple details in the summary. I guess we can
It's
go back
fine.
and
You
fill
did
them in.
so good for
Yeah.
60
Oh,
seconds.
no, I just
way
was-
better than Dan ever has.
Well,
Wow.
like if somebody remembers contact as poorly as I do, they might not remember that one of the things that gets broadcast back to Earth is Hitler opening the 1936 games,
Sounds
Olympic
right.
Games.
I mean, I can confirm all of that except the year.
Yeah.
So we'll just go with the Olympic Games, first Olympic Games that got broadcast on a wide enough bandwidth that it would have been received in space, presumably.
Yeah.
That's where that came from.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's real ominous and creepy.
It is. I mean, I did appreciate that the representative of the American government, played by professional asshole James Woods, did probably what a representative of the American government would actually do if the space signal were just suddenly Nazis. Like he just sort of like told the army to come back in the room. Not that they could do anything. It's a TV signal. But he did immediately like go on the defensive, just like, oh my God, space Nazis. It's all true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't
They
that have been a
fled to
fine?
the
How do you
moon.
do?
Yeah.
That's a different movie.
Which one?
Iron Sky.
Oh yeah, like moon Nazis or whatever, right?
I watched like the first half hour. It's real bad.
Of course
But
it is.
essentially the premise is the Nazis weren't all killed. They fled to the moon, and they've been rebuilding since the end of World War II
On the moon.
on the moon. and
So
then
not
back.
in
the dark side of the
Argentina.
moon.
Correct.
Got it.
The Argentina of the solar
Space?
system.
Oh, the solar system.
Sure.
Got it.
Doesn't the moon? No, maybe
What?
it doesn't. The moon does not rotate.
Correct.
It rotates with us.
Yeah.
It's tidally locked, so the same side always faces us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the dark side is not necessarily always dark.
No,
Certainly not. It's just
It's-
never seen by us from
Yeah.
the
Dark to
surface.
us.
Yeah.
Okay.
if a light never falls on our eyes, Does it
in the woods.
does it darken the woods?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just thinking it'd be funny if they did set up a camp, but they had to keep moving it, so it was
Oh,
a
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The dark side?
yeah.
That's funny.
We were right that McConaughey is we call him a science preacher.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not like
He's
Honestly,
educated though, right?
But like, why? I mean, why is he there? Why is he being called into these like really important government meetings?
He's like
a Jesus Malcolm Gladwell.
he's like Billy Graham.
A counterpoint.
Yeah.
Although I feel like Rob Lowe played the Billy Graham
Oh yeah, except
a little bit.
Yeah, it's
So
like
I think
Billy
he's
Graham.
a more acceptable. Yeah, Malcolm Gladwell
He's like
of
a
religion.
white Dalai Lama mixed with pop
Well,
psychology.
But he doesn't have a following or anything. He's
Yeah,
just a researcher.
I think him and Rob Lowe are like two sides of the Billy Graham equation, where it's like he is the one who is actually a member of, like he has some sort of religious scholarship or whatever, and Rob Lowe is one that actually is in a position to engage directly with the political machine, right?
Yeah.
Which I guess makes sense because like Billy Graham was more like hot shit in like Nixon time, right?
Yeah.
Like he was like hanging out at the White House.
Hung out
and
with
shit.
the Queen.
hmm Whereas in the 90s, I'm sure Bill Clinton's advisors at least would be like, you gotta have at least like a proxy
Yeah.
or something.
No, that's fair.
But
Spoiler alert, Bill Clinton is the president in this movie.
Yeah.
yeah.
McConaughey also just shows up all the time.
Yeah, right?
Mhm.
Like he's there doing research in Puerto Rico.
Yep.
And they bang.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
That we didn't even get to play the game.
No.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's no game to be played.
Well, it's because J Fos just goes for it.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't like. To be clear to our listeners,
Oh,
they
shit.
didn't show it.
Oh yeah.
Like they just are. They show them lying in bed naked
Presumably afterwards.
After
Yeah.
smooching.
after
After
smooching.
smooching heavily for a few
Smooching.
minutes.
Heavy smooch, hard cut,
And then
naked in bed.
just-
But do we think this was a longer ongoing relationship?
No.
Well, okay, here's the
I was
reason I think it
confused by
is.
it.
Because she first arrives, she puts her very first pin in the board
Mhm.
where she's narrowing down, I don't know, sources of strange signals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when they have a flirtation, some back and forth, you sort of get the picture that they're going to get together.
Mhm.
But when they do, they pan across that map again, and it's got many, many thumbtacks in
Yeah.
it. Shmi says she's been there for a while.
Yeah, I think I mean, I don't know how long she's been there, but I think that they had a longer term relationship from when she arrived to when she leaves.
But then he messes it up by bringing up God and her dad while in bed. And I think after that, she's like, smell you later.
Interesting.
But then also,
How did they-
I was confused as to why they didn't know how to contact each other.
Yeah.
I guess they were just like banging around Puerto Rico because they were in the same small.
Right. That's what I'm confused
That's a good
about.
point. I forgot about that
Because
part.
when she leaves, he's like, "How do I get in touch with you?" And like, why did that come up
Oh, because she was
1,000
leaving.
pushpins later?
Well, no, she was leaving Puerto Rico at that point.
No.
Oh, no, she was just leaving the thing. But I think they would just see each other all the time, right? They'd make a plan
What's the
every time they got
timeline?
together.
Okay, what is the timeline? She buys the push pins that she
Yeah.
will then put in that map.
Yeah.
She runs into McConaughey. Who's like, I've also got a Medalla beer and a book. I've got a book. Can I sit? Thank you. So good. Then what? They talk for a little bit. And then is she like, let's go back to my bang shed? Or do they? I'm trying to remember.
Her house.
Yeah.
Well, it's a residence that they're given. The satellite employees are given.
But
Sure.
they like
Do they meet
stare-
again before?
They like look at the stars together
Right.
and suck face.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it was nicer than that. I was
I know,
actually
they were
really
pretty
pleased
hard.
with that first kiss. It was
Yeah.
like one of the less gross 1990s kisses.
Yeah.
Oh,
we've seen.
that's
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah,
true.
we've
yeah,
seen
there was
some
not
really
a lot
bad
of like
ones.
flapping tongues.
Or just
Yeah.
like
Just-
crushing.
Definitely no Val Kilmer face.
So
I also feel like if they had been seeing each other for a long time, God would have come up a lot more, right? Like that's a
I
big
think
part
it's
of
her
his
dad
identity.
He brings up.
That's the big
I
turnoff.
think that is.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I get it now. Yes. Okay. So she gets the push pins. They meet in the pushpin beer store. They meet in the pushpin beer store. They have a little chat. And
Yeah.
she's like, and he's like, and then she's like, I have to go, but also, let me, I'll tell you when, what's his name's going to be here, because that's who he's trying to interview. And then they meet again at that little thing where Drumlin's like, oh, let me talk about how good science is. And that's when he comes in and Drumlin's like, oh, Father Joss or whatever. And then she's like, oh, he's a god man.
Yeah.
And that's when they bang. So some amount of time has passed where she could theoretically have put push pins in. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Because she only had done one push pin, but that only took like a couple hours. And we knew Drumlin was coming on Tuesday, which means she's at least had a couple more days to look at pins.
Okay.
Yeah, I forgot about that part.
Boom.
That
One
makes
bang.
sense. Ever?
Sure.
Yes.
Wow.
That was first bang?
He's that good.
First bang, last bang?
Okay, but
First bang, last bang.
I do wonder if there was a secondary bang.
Win.
Okay, he shows up about the time that she's about to go into the machine. He shows up and she's in her room.
Yeah.
She might be. Is she wearing a robe?
Yes.
Okay, and
In Japan?
Yes.
Yeah,
Second machine?
and they get really close.
No, you're right.
And then it cuts to the next day or whatever.
Second bang.
I think there was a second bang.
Yep.
Yeah.
Second bang, go to machine.
It's a good bang theory.
Oh!
$1,000 a month? Big friends bang.
Yes. Then you'll hear all of our good bang theories.
Yeah. All right. I get over that. The two
Yeah,
bang theory.
because it totally happened.
The second bang?
If she
Well-
thinks it's possible I might die tomorrow,
Yeah.
and he's like, it's possible you might die tomorrow.
Yeah. And also, like, I didn't vote. Ellie, I didn't. Oh, I'm losing it.
No.
I'm losing it.
I don't know
you're
who
right
this is, but it's not McConaughey.
No, it's not.
All right. Hey, we are Japan.
I've lost it.
Gonna get that swirling sphere. Oh,
The Yellow King. Anyway, he voted for. He didn't vote for her not only because she flubbed herself in the committee hearing, but also because he didn't want her to leave.
yeah.
That's right. He
They-
admits
That's
it later.
when
They
they
cared about each other.
smooch in D.C.
And it's less cute.
What? No, that
Not
was
as
a
good a
Japan
kiss.
smooch.
Did
No,
they
they
There was a
smooch in DC as well.
Because there's
Yes.
They're right in front of the Washington Monument.
Oh, that's right. That's right. They smooch in D.C., but then when he actually says, I care about you, please don't leave, I don't want you to leave, it's right in Japan, right?
I
Yes.
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have a
I-
long ongoing romance.
Yes, they do. And anytime they're in Washington, D.C., they are shown in front of the Washington Monument,
Yes.
which is erect in the middle of the city.
Yep.
can
Yep. I think
feel
it's very
the
clear.
chem.
There is a lot of what is it again?
Def Chem.
Def
Chem.
chem. There's def chem there,
There's
and it's def being shown visually.
Wow. Bobby Z.
I mean, it's literally every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that scene where they kiss, it's in the background. There's one at night where it's in the background, and then at the end when they're walking out of the
Capitol building.
judiciary, I don't know what building. What
I
is
think
it?
they're coming out of the
Capitol?
Capitol building, right?
Yeah, like
They showed
congressional
an aerial
hearing or
Oh,
whatever.
I see.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It is also in the background.
Yep.
I mean,
You
there
can
are a
even
lot
see
of
it really
monuments.
far away in Puerto Rico. No.
I will say, I thought Robert Zemeckis did an incredible job.
Yeah, it was cool.
I know that's not a very controversial stance to take,
There were some cool shots.
but yeah,
Is
the
that,
shot.
is that a breaking news alert?
Yeah.
Oh,
Beep, 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 beep.
Molly.
Also, Jodie Foster's pretty good.
Yeah.
Hey. But there's a really incredible scene. It's the second flashback as a child to answer the question we asked in the first half. There are two flashbacks. Second one's super sad. It's where her dad dies and she doesn't get to him with medicine in time, or that's how she blames herself. But
Yeah.
anyway, there's this incredible shot where she's trying to get to the medicine cabinet and time just sort of slows down and you can see I guess the camera's backing up as it, I don't know. Camera does a cool thing.
It looks like you're just watching her run down the hallway to the bathroom, but then it sort of seamlessly becomes the reflection of her running into the bathroom from the medicine cabinet.
Yeah.
And it's super cool.
It is really cool. And usually when I notice stuff, I think that's not a great sign
Yeah.
that I'm noticing it. But
Yeah.
this case, I was just like, check. And I felt like there were several scenes that were like that.
Oh, that ended up being into the mirror? I didn't even notice that.
Oh,
Yeah.
He did a lot of stuff with like reflections
Yeah.
and like transitioning the shot through glass
Or through
or
eyes.
through eyes.
Yeah.
It was
Mostly just her eyes.
yes,
Yeah.
which I guess is probably deliberate. But it was
contain a
only
universe.
her eyes. Yeah, and then only she has seen
Yes.
the whatever.
Spoiler alert. She's the only one that gets to see the cool stuff, and
Yeah.
nobody
Yeah.
believes her.
Yeah. I want to talk about that flashback / her childhood, which is
Just in general.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, two things. One, it's a real sad childhood.
Yeah.
She her mother dies in childbirth,
Yeah.
so she never knows her mother.
Yep.
And then her dad dies like while they're watching comets when she's
Like,
like a young
There's
child.
popcorn. Like he was like making popcorn to bring up to her so they could eat popcorn and look at the stars.
Yeah. And she was like yelling at him.
Yep.
To hurry
Yeah.
up. But then it takes her forever to go down and check on him.
And then there's no adult that checks in on her. Like
No.
the day, I would assume that that's awake or something like that. And like is it a cop? No, priest.
The priest.
The priest is like trying to like
Just like
tell her.
Biffs it hard.
He just like
He's really phoning it
she
in.
is like blaming herself for her father's death, and he just doesn't say anything, and then just like walks away.
Oh, yeah. His big thing is it was God's will.
Yeah.
He
And
like
then,
took his shot as
yeah.
real like boilerplate
Yeah.
bullshit. It was like, well, that didn't work.
Well, then he didn't. But like, it's so
Yeah,
funny that
next
like,
one.
if not, I just love how like you don't even take it again. Like you don't go for a second try when she's like, I clearly am blaming myself for all this. Like even if
Yeah.
that's all you got,
Yeah.
at least
Yeah.
give her a counterpoint.
No,
Yeah.
there were so many places where they had her on her own. So certainly when she's a child, and even when she goes back into the wake or the funeral, it's happening at her own house. Nobody is there.
Yeah.
Nobody comes near her. And then after the congressional hearing, where she gets grilled towards the very end of the movie, she gets grilled. She's all alone at the desk, and then as she leaves, her lawyer's walking with her, and then he just takes off.
Yeah.
Which never happens in real life. Like your lawyer is with you; they want as much airtime as you get.
Yeah. But maybe the lawyer's like, ooh, I'm done with this kook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of her being on her own,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
with a couple of rare exceptions.
And then also during that wake, she goes upstairs and gets on her ham radio.
Oh,
And is like trying to talk to her dad.
God.
And that line really stuck with me, paired with another one. So she's on there just saying "come back" over and over, which is like both. I don't know. It was really powerful because
It's
it's
both
both like the ham
speak.
radio thing of like,
right.
I said this thing, come back, but
Yeah.
then it's also like she
Come
really
back.
wants her dad to come back. That hit me really hard. And then later, when the line she repeats over and over in the space sphere is "okay to go," and like that's the code for like we can keep launching. But it also, part of it struck me as like she's like okay to die.
Yeah.
In a way,
Yeah.
she was like
Yep.
ready to make the sacrifice. She's okay to go.
Yeah.
Both on a technical space level and on the like.
oh yeah,
I don't know, and it
was
just it read
beautiful.
through really well.
Yeah.
J
And also,
Fos
she
and-
did that in like a green screen or some kind of like brown
Weird chair.
Yeah.
gray cube.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was beautifully done.
Yeah, it's just really powerful
Yeah.
lines.
She was great.
there is. Someone said like, is Matthew McConaughey supposed to be God?
Oh,
in
I said
this?
that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
wanna
think I
hear
might
your
be
thoughts on
right.
that.
Because it just keeps popping up.
He comes out of nowhere. He just like appears from around corners. He's
Yeah.
always in the right place at the right time to take Jodie Foster on this journey. Like
he's written a best-selling book.
He's written a
Right.
best-selling book.
Mm.
Hey, maybe you've heard of it. The Bible. But he's pushing her on this journey towards faith, right?
Right.
And at the end, she has to admit that everybody needs to take her thing on faith.
Yeah.
That she went through this wormhole.
Yeah, and her testimony at that point parallels Matthew McConaughey's description of when he found God as a young man.
Oh yeah, there's so many lines she has early on. I'm like, oh, you're gonna eat that later. I know because I saw this in 1997.
Uh-huh.
One thing that I really liked about the depiction of the coworkers and the colleagues and
yeah.
The science men?
the science, yeah, but her like closest colleagues,
Yeah.
who sometimes their quirks were played up just a little
little
and
much.
sort of that same. It kind of reminded us of a Twister a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
But I really liked that there were many instances where someone would bark out an order, and the person that was being given the order would say, "Already on it."
Yeah.
So many instances, either with her or with her colleagues. And I was like, yes, thank you. Because you watch these, TV shows like ER take place in an ER and the doctor's barking out orders and you're like, that nurse already knows this stuff, right?
Like the whole
And
point
they've already halfway done it.
Right.
Like there's no reason. You're just doing exposition for us.
Yeah.
And so I really like that they gave us the exposition and the feeling of urgency while also acknowledging that everyone knows what they're doing.
Right. That's like the whole point
Yeah,
of
like
them
it's not like,
all being there.
well, I'm a scientist, but I don't know how.
I'm
what do
just
I do with these
frantically typing on this
dials?
keyboard of this computer I've been using for years.
So I really appreciated that nod in the screenplay.
Yeah, this movie was really good at, like, Dan, I think you pointed this out when we saw the post-bang pushpin map to show that more time has passed, she's checked more stars, that, like, this movie did that a lot, where it was, like, pretty good at just sort of, like, feeding us information, but not, like, hard.
Oh, except for the flashback of her entire life.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Some of it was just, like, you know what I mean? But
We get it.
Yeah. But, fuck, I had another example.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know.
Well, think about it while we talk about our science friends
Okay.
because they're amazing.
Yeah, they are kind of amazing.
Where
Where are you starting?
I want to start with like Stoner dude,
Yeah.
Rad
Yeah.
Stoner dude.
Yep.
Amazing.
That was the guy who wore like the
bubbles
pineapple
around.
shirts and stuff.
Yeah, he's wearing aloha shirts and like has a man bun.
Yep.
And it's just like his line reads. It's just like, whoa, yeah, but he's still like smart. Like he's not a dummy.
Yeah.
He's just like,
He's the already on it guy,
Yeah.
but he sounds like a complete doofus.
yeah, well, I did, yeah.
Although at one point it seems like he's just like pulling out speakers and like plugging them into stuff.
That was his job.
I
Yeah,
just love that
he's
he's
getting
like
the big boy.
he's like the roadie.
Yeah, he was clearly the roadie though.
Yeah.
That's true. That's a good point. Like
Yeah,
he may
super
be
chill
smart,
and
but he's
competent.
still the roadie.
Yeah. And then the other dude in there, his shirt in that scene where they finally
Oh
get the
my
signal.
god, it's like 8 shirts sewn together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing. It's like vertical and horizontal
Yeah.
stripes.
Yeah.
But like each quadrant is a different color. It's really good. It's a really good shirt. Is that Panama hat guy from the beginning?
Yes, I was just gonna say, like, we knew
Oh,
that
it
guy was
is.
gonna give us gold when he is introduced in the background of Jodie Foster coming to Puerto Rico wearing a gigantic Panama hat, absurdly bright shirt, and smoking a pipe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, pipe guy.
Oh, pipe guy,
And
fish.
then, we see him at the end as well, still with a loud shirt. Now he's got a cowboy hat because they're in New Mexico.
Yes, correct.
He always has a thematically appropriate hat.
Yep.
How now I'm mad that he wasn't like in the background of the mission control, just like
Yeah.
with a little like NASA cap
Yeah.
or
Oh.
even a space helmet, smoking a pipe.
That'd be amazing. Speaking of mission control, another vest wearing
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
mission commander,
Yep.
whatever they're
that
Yeah.
might
called.
be the title, right? I don't know.
I don't know why everyone's looking at me.
I don't know because I
You're
feel
the
like
smartest one on the podcast.
That's
You like vest the most.
that, and you also
I
like
do like
once
vest
saw
the
the
most.
vest.
I did see
Oh,
the
yeah.
vest.
So like you're our
With
vest
with my own eyes.
expert. Yeah.
Guess what else I saw when I was there?
What?
The Washington Monument.
Yeah, what I appreciated.
Washington built that.
All right, all right, all right.
I did appreciate that Vest was he was in control for both launch sequences, but he had a different vest
Yeah.
for each mission.
Sure,
Yeah.
that first vest was
True,
cursed.
true to history.
Just like Vest, yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, now that we know that Mission Control was on a boat the second time, apparently, like that makes sense that his next vest would be like a thicker, warmer vest
Yeah.
because it was cold on the
Yes.
Japanese sea.
Yeah.
That was so strange that they never established that they were on
On a
a
boat,
boat
yeah.
until the boat tipped over,
Yeah.
and then they were like, "Oh, everyone's falling over."
Yeah, it took us a minute.
P.S.
Yeah.
This is on a boat.
Yeah.
But I don't know where else we thought it would be, honestly.
I guess it was just sort of this barren wasteland
Yeah.
with a bunch of water around it. So
That's true.
yeah, because they had
It
to
makes
build
the
it. in
most sense that they would
secret.
bring in a boat.
It does.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, my assumption would be on land.
Yeah. Mine too.
fair.
It's tend to be more, most things happen for humans.
Sure, but
Yeah.
this time it was on a boat.
Okay, well, that's fair.
That's fair.
I mean, a lot of things took place not on.
Unconventional.
There's a man who lives in the sky.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
that
true.
guy. We should talk about him.
Yeah, we should.
S.R. Haddon.
That's our Haddon, who I also named as. After James Woods brings the suggestion that it was just an eccentric guy, rich dude making an insane hoax, I wrote down prank Bezos? Question mark.
Yeah.
He's the prank Bezos.
He's
Is
got
the
a
theory?
real Jeff Bezos look and billionaire status.
Although his
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos look is because he's dying of cancer.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah, he's not like real buff.
No.
Like
Mostly
Bezos.
he's just bald, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a billionaire.
Baldginaire?
What?
A baldginaire?
Yep.
Okay,
With it.
I'll take it. Yeah, so we learned that he has given up on living with the other human beings on the surface of the earth, so he just lives in a plane.
Don't we all wish that we
could live in a plane? Yeah.
Live in a plane.
And then when Jodie Foster is brought onto the plane, they have this like very okay. Dan, I think you've mentioned this, where it's like this very disturbing conversation, but the content of the actual content of the conversation itself, totally harmless.
Yeah. It's
totally cool.
creepy,
But just like
based on everything about him and
Yes.
the way he delivers his
yes,
lines.
Yes.
or the fact that he's like showing footage from her life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's like,
that's what
I
got
like to look at my investments before I really make a decision,
Yeah,
which is like reasonable,
Right.
But
Yeah.
also like, why are you
Well,
so
and it
creepy
seemed like
about it?
I feel like we were this close to him being like, "Oh, I injected your father with a special protein mix to create the most intelligent baby in the world."
I need to know how that video was made.
Which video?
The video of all of the moments of her life.
Money,
Because
man.
Either he did it himself on like
Like,
iMovie.
I see what you're saying now.
He's
yeah.
like, all right, Ken Burns.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's right. There were a lot of Ken Burns
It
style
like zooms in
zooms.
on her. Or he like hired someone
Ken Burns.
to like hired Ken
Probably.
Burns. Yep. Okay, that's what I choose to believe is true.
Make a documentary film, reckon would
just
be
gets
of
a
a
lot of
person's
exposition.
life,
Yes.
history.
I need a visual history to deliver my exposition over.
And all the scenes were, and all the like clips were like from her childhood and like clearly like home videos or like security cameras, except for the last shot,
Yeah,
which
troubling.
I believe Dan Linden said that's from the movie.
And it was from the movie. Because it wasn't the shot of, because it was at the president's press conference, and it
Yeah.
wasn't a shot where the cameras were, because they were pointed at the president.
Well,
What?
I guess his camera wasn't.
Oh.
But still, it was.
Did he direct the movie?
Yeah,
Is
maybe.
this supposed to be like a
The whole movie's a hoax.
metatextual? Yeah. Whoa.
But that level of exposition I felt like was unnecessary.
Little much.
Because we already knew most of it. We didn't know yet that she had been offered a job at Harvard and turned it down.
She
in order
graduated
to-
2 years early from high school,
I
Molly.
mean, okay. Well,
Yeah, it was
A little
I agree.
much.
It was deep into the movie to tell us, hey, she's smart.
really
scientist.
smart.
I mean,
Yeah.
we kind of took that. I mean, I was cool with her. I
Yeah.
thought she was smart.
I accepted she was smart when it cut to adult her and she was standing next to a giant satellite and seemed to know what it was. And was like, yeah, I work here.
She's like, I call it a dish.
But yeah, I loved how I would like to present the argument that Haddon may be our first creep supreme of a movie who is actually relatively harmless.
Yeah.
Like
and
when you break it down.
and actually a benefactor. Like
Yeah.
he removes the roadblocks. Like he gives
Right.
her the decoded thing.
Yeah.
Gives her the money.
Yeah. But he's still the creepiest dude in the movie. And that
Yeah.
includes Jake Busey, stare down super terrorist.
God, he is so creepy.
Yeah.
He is really
scary.
creepy.
James Woods a creep.
Yeah.
I think the weirdest part. Wait, what was his name? Haddon?
Yeah.
The weirdest part was when they cut to him and he's dead and they're like
Yes.
zipping up his body, but they're also watching people talk about him on TV in
Yeah.
the background.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so those guys were just like hired to go up into space? No, they're astronauts.
They're cosmonauts.
They're cosmonauts.
Yeah, he just paid the
Russia.
Russians a bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, take care of my cancer body.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember when I first saw this movie and then read the book, because I think Plain Guy's in the book too. I remember thinking like, yeah, it's like, oh, it's cool how much of this movie seems to like really take into consideration like how this would actually go down if it actually were to happen in real life. And I feel like it was like, oh, the Plain Guy's a little weird. But now I feel like we're like one more round of deregulation away from that being perfectly plausible, that just some billionaire would just like hang out in a plane all the time. Or like Bezos Island, it's just going to be like puttering around the ocean.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you could fully insulate yourself from society with the amount of money that some people have.
Mm-hmm.
Like fully, which is really interesting to think about.
Mm-hmm. So invest in SpaceX.
Yeah.
Because it's certainly for all of humanity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Blue
Blue,
sky
Something.
diamond.
What's
Who
that one?
cares?
it's
That's
Bezos' one.
He's
Yes.
also going to space?
He's
Yeah.
trying to. Maybe he already has.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He said, I literally, this fucker. He said he started that.
Is this
space company.
our ongoing segment, F the Rich?
Yeah, F the rich.
Okay, cool.
Because he knew he had enough money that there's no way he could spend it. So he started a space company.
I can think of many
So
ways
many
to spend
things.
that money.
I feel like even Bill and Melinda Gates would be like, we have some concepts, some things
Yeah.
we couldn't afford to do that,
Right.
like, take on a disease, dude.
Yeah, take on a disease. That's legacy right there. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I crushed whatever
What about the disease of living on Earth?
Ooh.
Oh, jeez.
Yikes. Anyway,
depressing.
prank Bezos.
Anyway, Craig Bezos.
Help
Yeah.
Jodie Foster.
After Rich.
After Rich, he made it all possible.
Yeah.
Ooh, so the accusation at the end is that it was a huge prank by him,
Yes.
and Jodie Foster gets grilled by a very mean dude that we got introduced to earlier as like the head of national security or something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so he's like being really, I would say, very rude.
Very
and-
rude.
And I feel like
This is
scientists
played by
are at
professional
such a-
asshole James Woods,
Yes.
just to be clear.
are at a disadvantage because, they would have to admit the possibility that something isn't true.
Right.
Because that's part of your scientific training.
Right.
But anyway, he's like, there's not one shred of physical evidence. And then at the end, there's the Shamalam Slam twist
Yeah.
of the only other female character who speaks to her,
Right.
the Secretary of Technology and
Something.
science.
Whatever the title that was in the footage of Bill Clinton they used for that
Yes.
part of the movie.
Yes.
Angela Bassett.
Angela
Yes.
Who
Bassett
crushes.
Crushes.
totally crushes. And we get her first name and her last name at different times.
Yes.
And she speaks to Jodie Foster's character a number of times.
Yes.
Yep.
About different topics.
Yes.
None including a dude.
Correct.
Yep.
It's pretty impressive. But anyway, she's like, what I found most interesting about the evidence is that there were 18 hours of static.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's supposed to be like the piece of physical evidence that
Right.
that Jodie Foster wouldn't know about. But I'm kind of like, okay, so if she fell through, right?
Yeah.
If the whole idea is she's in a little ball that's suspended over this hydraulic system, and what everybody else sees is just that she falls through and lands, and then they reestablish communications with her. At what point would she have had time to disengage from her chair, take off her gloves, and put them in her pocket?
Ooh, are her gloves off?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
Like, that's physical evidence.
I mean, I guess because they could argue like, oh, we started losing the signal before we dropped the pod, so
Oh,
maybe
so
she
maybe
like
she was
took
just
her
like-
gloves off. Like, oh, I'm so hot in here. I gotta take my gloves
I
off.
gotta con everybody.
Yeah.
Think of a good story.
Yeah.
I don't know. And that's the other, I mean, there's like a undercurrent of Believe Women, especially with a congressional hearing. It had a lot of like echoes of Anita Hill
Yeah.
kind of in it.
Yeah, it did. Except they were yelling about space.
Well, they were
instead,
yelling about space, but she's
similar,
all alone
yeah.
at this big table.
For
She doesn't
sure.
even have a lawyer with her. Like, come on. But anyway, she's all alone at this big table, and it's this, a lot of dude heavy kind of energy coming at her. And yeah, the whole idea that she's just not believed. That was even hard to watch, even
Yeah.
in a science fiction.
Yeah, I mean, there was
context.
a huge undercurrent in her entire journey of being undercut by powerful men. Like, what's his name? Mustache.
Fucking Drumlin.
Fucking Drumlin.
Yeah.
Like,
He talks over at every opportunity.
oh, every opportunity.
Also, here's something I need help with.
Okay.
Maybe you could womansplain it to me. We were accusing him of mansplaining a lot.
Yeah.
Drumlin?
Drumlin,
Yeah.
yes. My understanding of mansplaining, and maybe I'm wrong, is the explaining of a concept to a woman that she already knows because you think she's a dummy.
Well, she would be saying I mean, in this case, she would be saying something and explaining something, and then he would cut her off and then explain it.
See,
And
what
he
Beth
was
is saying
also,
is that.
okay, hush. But he would also specifically be explaining to Angela Bassett as
Yeah.
well. So there was
It's
like a
that
power
element
play.
too.
But
Mostly it was that he was
Like she was
rephrasing her
like
words.
he thought she was incapable of communicating it to anybody else.
yeah. So that's also mansplaining? Because those are
I
two
don't
different
know.
things.
I mean, in his case, I guess you could argue that he definitely thought that she was capable of explaining it, but he was constantly butting in to keep his position of
Yeah.
power
Guess so.
solidified.
I feel maybe irrationally
Maybe just being a
irked.
man. Maybe that's the term.
I guess, but I feel irrationally irked at the pressure to define very specifically
Yeah.
what mansplaining is. And I feel like it happens a lot on the internet, and there are charts and all of this. And I feel like it's frustrating because for women, there are so many phenomenon that happen to us that do not have names.
Right.
And we are at the infancy. We're at such the infancy that people still use Me Too to apply to a whole host of things, right? We don't have a word to describe someone's career getting ruined by some man, right? We don't have shorthand for all of that. So then when I hear somebody really, no offense, Dan, you're my friend, but it is irksome. You can see why it would be frustrating to be pigeonholed when there's so little language that we get to use.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sure, I guess it could be mansplaining, or maybe we should come up with another word for it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter to me, but that's still a phenomenon that happened to her because she was a woman.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not only because she was an underling. Although she was probably also an underling because she was a woman. So, take your pick. Oh, also she picked a really kind of absurd scientific pursuit.
What are you doing?
That didn't help either. But I don't know. Still, there were the guy who worked with her got way more respect than she did.
Which guy?
David.
Kent Clark?
Kent Clark.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, he got tons of respect. And he was doing the exact same work that she was.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, in your face, haters.
Yeah, shut up, Dan.
No, but you see what I'm saying? Like,
It's just on the search for knowledge.
I'm just asking questions. No, but I understand what you're saying.
yeah.
Yeah.
Podcast over. I'm so sorry.
No, you're right,
Drumlin's
though.
an asshole.
Yeah.
Like me.
No.
No.
I mean, I think like your question was like, is that mansplaining? Like, I don't know if it was mansplaining or not, but both things are very annoying.
Yeah,
Certainly.
I understand that.
Certainly.
Yeah.
It's a valid question, but shut up. I think it's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
If it's, I don't want to speak for Molly, but I think what I'm hearing is.
No, I picked up on that. I want to talk about the science of this movie.
Yes, let's go.
I appreciated how much science was in this movie.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just like wall to wall science. I feel like there was much less hand holding than I would have expected about a movie. And like that's the whole movie. I mean, there's the spirituality and the actual stuff, but most of it's just like we're looking at signals and we're talking about percentages and like here's the prime numbers and we got to line up shit.
Yeah.
It was just like here's some science.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the computers didn't look insanely like made up, like
No.
except for like the whatever interface it was that just said
Like
like email,
Internet. Some other ones. Oh, and then when J Fos was having her email, I'm putting that in skeptical quotes, conversation with Haddon,
oh yeah,
where she came to her house and it was just like email coming and there's a little graphic on her screen. And then she seemed to be just like basically direct messaging with her email.
Yeah, in two different terminal windows. But yeah, but I agree, the like scientific gathering computers, there's so many computers that like 3 people are using.
Yeah.
It just looks like what you'd expect.
Yeah,
like
and I love they
graphs and
didn't.
shit.
First, especially when the frenzied moments after she hears the signal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so great because they don't explain any of it, and
Yeah.
it doesn't need to make a lot of
Well,
sense.
and
It's
what I
great.
appreciate about it though is not only, I mean, one, they don't explain it, but they also, I appreciate that the only thing they're explaining to you, the viewer, is that they're confirming it.
Right.
Which is such a rare thing in a movie. It's like, most movies where this is a plot, it'd just be like, bwum, bwum, bwum. Oh my God, there's a signal from space. Done. But instead, she's like, and like, God bless Robert Zemeckis for being like, how do we make Jodie Foster telling these nerds to confirm what she's hearing exciting? It's, we'll have her speed across the desert in her convertible while screaming into a walkie-talkie.
And then 2 dudes in fun shirts
Frantically.
are just sliding around
Yes.
in rolling chairs like crazy.
But competently,
Jamming on their
as Molly
keyboards.
said.
Yep.
But yeah, I appreciate the fact that it wasn't just like, let me type furiously at this computer so you know that science happened. It's like they explained it just enough where it's like, we need to confirm this information in as many ways as we possibly
Yeah.
can, which is how science actually works.
Or no one clicked on the giant confirm signal button with the graphical
Yeah.
button.
an alien like little emoji popped up.
Yeah. And then it like this little dance, like,
Yeah.
we found it.
Alien life found.
Beep, beep,
Yeah,
beep.
and I appreciated that. Dan's doing a little like low res alien dance.
It was Fifth Element dance.
Very
Space
good.
opera.
Oh, sure. I really appreciated how like a big part of this movie. I mean, it sounds so boring when you just say it out loud, but like how much of this movie was dedicated to like explaining to the audience how radio waves work.
Oh,
You know what I mean? How it's like, it wasn't just like, wow, there's this signal from space. Oh, we figured it out. This is the message. You know what I mean? Like, at first I was like, oh, is it just like Morse code or something? But yeah, like you said, that the prime number, like the fact they kept drilling down into it to show like how complex of a signal it actually was and how many different ways you would have to look at that one signal.
Okay, do you think there was another layer of understanding that if they had gotten more than one person could have gone through the machine?
If they'd gotten what?
Well, because they get the first layer, which is prime numbers, and
Yeah.
the second layer, which is images, and
Yep.
then the third layer, which is schematics that turn out to be 3D, and they have some sort of key,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Legend. Yeah, but what if there is like another layer to answer Beth's earlier question about why can't you send more than one person?
Yeah, like-
which I think is a very salient
Like
question.
maybe it's at a higher frequency and like Kent
Yeah.
Clark's CNI dog is like freaking out because he's receiving this like incredibly powerful signal for like a space bus that could take...
Oh, then the dog scientists are making a better
Yeah,
version?
secretly.
Dan, you wanted to talk about society's response to, hey, there's alien life.
Oh yeah, I really liked how, like, I appreciated that like there was the obvious any movie like this where like the American government is like, this is ours, only ours, shut up, and like the military being like, this is there was a military, like those two very cliche Hollywood generals are just like, oh, what if it's just a weapon being constructed, some kind of doomsday device. All that's in there. So like all the government stuff that's in every alien movie was there. But I also appreciate that there was like, she had a sort of her like drive to work montage of like society's responses, where there's sort of people who are just like having a party and having like Burning Man outside of the Very Large Array. And then there's like crazy Jake Buseys out there who are like just were clearly already mentally ill and then just sort of latched onto this one piece of information that they were given.
Yep.
And it just sort of like it consumed them and, like fostered their whole identity. And then, I don't know, there was just like just a bunch of weirdos. And I liked how, and then Jay Leno making just awful jokes about it,
that's real
but
bad.
exactly what Jay Leno would do.
Yeah.
That was the most Jay Leno joke I've ever heard.
Yeah.
It was something to the effect of,
We're going to have to change the Miss Universe.
yeah. Yeah,
I feel
well,
like that is something that's used in so many movies is Jay Leno doing jokes about the thing
whatever
that
it's
is
about.
happening.
Yeah.
it's like we have to hold your attention somehow.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was too real.
It was,
The jokes were too real.
if we can move into MVPs for a moment.
Yeah, let's do it.
The Carnival of... Oh, no, that was different. The Cape Canaveral Carnival. Cape Carnival. Beth, high five. That was a different collection of people.
My hand shot up so fast. I love high fives.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. But in the first carnival, the Very Large Array Burning Man, there was one of the many little people responding to this was one of my MVPs, which was the guy who was just in a cannon. He was a human cannonball with a little
Yeah.
banner. It's just like to
Vega,
Vega or bust.
They took their time showing the desert weirdos.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, that was great.
There was like humping Elvis impersonator and
Oh, yeah. Viva
some
la
kind of
Vega.
choir. There was like a beautiful choir singing about Vega. Jake Busey making like intense eye contact
Yeah,
with Jodie
he
Foster.
was really locked in
Ooh,
on
boy.
Jodie Foster.
Terrifying.
In an unhealthy way.
Very unhealthy.
But
That's
I mean, he turns out to be a terrorist, so
yeah.
Yeah.
it makes sense.
I mean, he was clearly just had some issues.
Not enough meatball subs.
What? Oh, give me two. You tell
Oh.
me.
Too.
Got it. Oh,
Is that from Point Break?
yes.
Okay.
Good.
got it.
Yes. Thank you.
So confused.
Should I just go through my MVPs
Yeah, do
while
them
I'm
all.
here? Okay. One of my other MVPs is whoever created the astronomy is looking up bumper sticker that was in Jodie Foster's office, because that was amazing. And then there were there was a group of MVPs at Cape Canaveral where it was just like pairs of extras in matching
yeah.
uniforms, just sort of like vaguely gesturing as if they have purpose, just constantly walking into frame. Oh, so good. And then finally, my final MVP was, I think, the guy that looked like Rand Paul, but maybe not. But the guy, when they were talking about how, like, oh, Drumlin's a showboat, and then one guy's like, that's what we call an overcooked ham. This is a professional astronaut man or whatever, astrophysicist control guy, and he had to stop doing his job to turn around in his chair.
Give a log, like, here's my
Oh.
great Southernism.
So
you probably
good.
do that all the time, Molly. At
I
work,
sure
right?
do.
Just turn around and
Yeah, chaos erupts, and I just.
Okay, what
hit
was
'em-
that?
Chaos erupts, and I. Hit 'em with a
chaos
southern.
erupts. I thought that was a Southernism for a second. I'm just like, I'm
No.
sorry, what?
No, no.
That's too much dime on the dog.
That's
No.
too many bananas in the
Haystack.
basket. Haystack. That's what we call a sunburnt pigeon.
A flamingo.
Ooh,
It's
terrifying.
a sunburned pigeon.
Red as a
I thought that was
sunburned
plankton that turned
flamingo.
in that color.
What?
Isn't it like whatever they eat turns in that color?
Yes, but it was the
I don't know. Maybe it was the sun. I was just confirming.
Okay.
Wait,
Birds are
flamingos
weird.
Sunburnt?
What? I was making a joke that
Humor
a
joke.
sunburned pigeon
Humor
was
joke
a
from Beth.
flamingo.
High five.
Oh, sure.
It
Humor
was
Beth,
good.
Cape
It was
Carnival.
high quality.
Molly, real quick, how did you feel about Rob Lowe's like half-assed Southernisms when he was supposed to be the conservative
It's
senator
so
or whatever?
hard. 'Cause I don't know. I just feel like people bust out that exact Southern accent for that exact character.
Every time.
It's just been done.
It's
I
been
felt
done.
he also added a cold to that
Yes,
character.
I wonder if that
This
was
guy
just.
talked
I wonder if that was
like
just
this.
real. Like he was
Yeah.
only there for 2 days shooting, and it's just like, Rob, I've got laryngitis. He's like, well, whatever.
Probably like one day max. That was like a half day.
Well, he had to master the accent over the first day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was fatiguing.
hmm
Yeah, and it was. And you already had Matthew McConaughey. It already kind of cornered the charming Southern
Right?
market. So I was like, I don't know if we need 2 Southern preacher men.
No.
But if you're Rob Lowe and you show up on set having made a decision about your character,
Who's going
I
to
think
stop
you get to play it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe they did 3 versions and one was British. Oh, I would have loved that. Now,
But he was
you're telling
but he
me.
was still like a senator in the U.S. Congress.
Yeah.
All right, nice. That's a story.
Yeah.
That's probably the one they rolled out, and so then they had to go with the Southern.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
They were
yeah.
like,
He
all
came in
right.
hot. He was like, I want to do the Southern one.
Yep.
But then they'll say no unless I come in with
Maybe Matt McConaughey was
British.
like, "Listen, Rob, here's what you do. You go in there. You sound like you're doing a revival of Oliver Twist. Robbie's gonna be so upset. He'll just let you do whatever you want."
All right.
All right.
You see that Washington Monument. All right.
That was much better.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I,
it's really getting
It's
it.
improving.
I had to rediscover it. I think the problem is I was trying too much to do smarmy Matthew, like smarmy trying to get in bed with you, Matthew McConaughey, and it
Sure.
just turned into some weird,
Oh, he doesn't do that with his voice, though. He does that with his eyes.
right? Oh, and just like his
Oh,
serpentine
so much
swagger.
eye
Yeah.
contact.
Although he covers it up at one point with his like 8-pound scarf at the end of the movie.
Sure does. I think that's to show he's maturing.
Oh, sure. And that he's a man of the
He's
cloth.
got a lot of cloth,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's a big scarf.
Anyway, those are my MVPs.
Those are good. Yeah. Mine were mostly the cool science dudes.
Yeah.
I didn't have
Yeah.
any others.
There was a couple good bow ties.
Oh,
A
yeah.
couple good bow tie gentlemen.
Yep.
I like that the Japanese military escorts for Jodie Foster at the end when she's being escorted to her pod.
Yes.
I liked how much screen time they got,
Even though they didn't have a line.
even though they didn't have any lines. Yeah, but they really got a lot of screen time, and it was
kinda-
hard not to notice them.
It kind of looked like they were also like working on the Death Star.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
had like Haddon Corp hats on.
Yeah.
Or helmets on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they had sort of like these grimaces, but also, and I might have been projecting, but I felt like part of them was saying, "Isn't this cool? This is so cool."
That's Jodie
That's
Foster.
Jodie Foster, and I
Yeah.
get to just stand here and just not look at the camera. All I have to do is not look directly at the camera.
Mhm.
I don't know. I felt like I could see their thoughts that way.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of time for extras.
It was. They had so much time, they could just keep it subtle instead of just pointing wildly at Cape Canaveral to show that they had a reason to be there.
Before we get to our final review of the podcast, we like to read a review of our podcast,
Yeah.
Totes Recall, in the impression of someone for the movie.
Certainly.
We do not have a review.
What?
We could have gotten more of this McConaughey.
Yeah, more of this incredible, consistent McConaughey.
Yeah. So go. We'd love to see your review. Go to iTunes, leave a maximum point review, or somewhere else. But tell us where the other thing is, because
Yeah.
we only get alerts for iTunes. And leave it, and we'll read it. Thank
Mhm.
you. So, Dan,
Yes.
you gave this. Oh, our rating scale is J Fos Pine Satellites.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is there any pine?
Her door was like a wood door.
Yeah. Do you think you were thinking of her like Puerto Rico shed?
Yeah,
that was
that was
kind of
pretty
wood.
woody.
That was super
I
witty.
don't think so. I think for some reason I'm imagining her crying in the rain, like it's raining
Whoa.
outside. I think it's a
I
different
think of
movie.
The Notebook.
No, I've never
Jodie
seen
Foster's
The Notebook.
in the Notebook.
No. Oh, did we answer your question, Dan? Had you seen this movie
Oh, yeah.
before?
Oh, I don't think so, but I'm not even confident in that.
Uh-huh.
Like it still feels like a movie I've seen, but none of the scenes seemed familiar.
Mm.
I feel like that probably means you didn't see
That
it.
seems like a no, but there's part of me that's like, yeah. Like maybe
Okay.
it was on.
I can tell you this. I've definitely seen that movie, but I don't remember any of the scenes that we saw tonight.
Well,
All right.
let me throw
like
this out
visually,
to both of you.
it did not like. Yeah,
You've both just been sitting at this table for like 3 minutes. Like we haven't even watched the movie yet.
what?
Yeah. All Molly and I saw
Yeah.
was,
we hadn't even gotten pizza.
yeah.
Check it.
I
Is
mean-
there 18 hours of
my God,
podcast
there's-
recording?
Approximately.
Yeah, we'll put that on our Patreon.
18 hours of static.
If you could decode the signal, then you could take a bubble and
At
be our
some
guest.
point in that 18.
Yes. No, that's absolutely true.
What?
If you can decode the 18 hours of static and find the primer to build your own microphone, you can be a guest on one episode of this show.
You're welcome, patrons.
Yep. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
I was going to make another joke, but that one was better.
Well, now I feel like an
I
asshole.
talked over her again.
Yep.
Is that mansplaining, Molly? Dan, you gave it 4.
Yes.
Pew pews.
I was stoked for that, and I got it.
Got 0 pew pews.
It said 0 PPUs. Like there was even a moment where Jodie Foster specifically told James Wood to make the armed men leave the scene.
Yeah.
That was pretty BA.
That was like a nice, and that was even a nice message to the audience. Like, hey, we're just going to talk about math.
not that
Like,
kind of
it's
movie.
not. It's like, yeah, I enjoyed the science scene of this movie. I enjoyed the fact that this movie asked pretty interesting questions. Like for some rube just going to like, oh, I'm going to go see the new Jodie Foster movie about aliens. Like I feel like it was pretty I don't know, it was a very in-depth conversation for a movie that is ostensibly supposed to make money. Because it's like Jodie Foster, Matthew McConaughey, Robert Zemeckis, space footage, right?
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool. I really enjoyed it. I thought Robert Zemeckis did a really good job. There were some surprisingly compelling moments. Like there was noticeable silence in the living room we watched the movie in when she was traveling in her space pod. So I think that scene was either very effective or you were all very tired because the movie was long. Either way, I was very engrossed by that scene. Mm-hmm. I loved it. 5 pine discs.
Wow.
Science
Yeah.
movie without pew pew. Are you listening, Hollywood? I'll still take the pew pew, but like maybe just like one every couple of
them.
years.
Yeah.
You-
Like,
Give us a movie for an adult,
right? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Beth, you gave it 4. I cannot read my notes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I thought it was incredibly well acted and directed. I really liked the story. I liked that there were women. I liked that there were lots of people of color that were like, like active in the film.
Yes.
They weren't just in the background. I thought it was great. I'm also going to give it 5.
Wow. 5 pine discs. Shit.
Jodie-
J Fos Pine Satellites.
J Fos Pine Satellites.
Yeah.
I predicted a 3, wondering if a 2.5-hour movie would be boring. And also it sounded like it was just going to be people talking about what the thing is.
Yep.
I am glad this movie exists.
Yes.
It was well done. I was engaged, but I don't feel strongly about it.
hmm
I would be glad if this was put on in a high school classroom, like at the end of the semester, we're done. But like, hey, we're gonna watch Contact. And be
Yeah.
like, great. Yeah, great. 3's the right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's fine. I liked it.
Great.
Oh, okay. I
Well,
guess Jodie
Molly?
Foster and Robert Zemeckis and Angela Bassett aren't good enough, but that's fine.
Wow.
Yeah.
You
No.
gave it 4
Oh, with a
With a.
with the possibility of a 2.
Or anywhere in between.
yeah.
That's true. No, I loved the writing, direction, acting. Were all really incredible. I really enjoyed it. And I love it really, in some ways it was Science of the Lambs in that Jodie Foster is playing a character that is, put upon by the patriarchy at every turn. But also those weird science guys. There's this wonderful line during all the chaos of the first contact or the first signal pickup where they say, "Boss has a bogey." And it made me so happy. It's like, oh yeah, she is their boss.
Oh,
It's really nice to hear.
also remember she put her hair back to do science.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Practical.
That was great.
Man, and I watched all of Captain Marvel and I was like, please put your hair in a ponytail. This makes no sense.
She didn't need to because she had space energy to keep her hair under control.
It makes more sense, but still. I really enjoyed it. And the more I think about it, the more I like it. I was going to give it a 4.5, but Dan, your 3 has really pushed me to give it a 5.
Ooh, spite 5.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow. That's all right. You don't want your true feelings to be represented, just your spiteful ones.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I will say, for 2.5 hours, I wasn't bored.
I wasn't bored.
I didn't feel bored, or nor did I feel like, ugh, this is really going a long time.
Yeah, it wasn't like Benjamin Button.
Ugh.
Robert Zemeckis.
Right? Also, watching the credits,
That
there were
was Robert
so
Zemeckis, right?
few.
I have no
Oh,
idea.
shit.
I don't know why you asked me.
I don't know.
I
again,
remember the
smartest
least of everyone.
You saw the vest in real life.
I did.
I'm sorry, Molly. What?
That's okay. Yeah, we all know it's the source of Beth's power. There were so few people, relatively speaking, who worked on this movie, or
Yeah.
people didn't used to get credited with anything.
Maybe.
But, Industrial Light and Magic worked on it, and there was another unit out of, New Zealand or Australia or something. But it was a pretty short list of people who created it. And if you looked at the credits for Titanic or Avatar or, any movie now, you just go on for days.
David Fincher directed Benjamin Button. Sorry.
There you go.
But also, hey, Finch,
Hey, Finch,
get an editor.
Yeah.
just hire one.
Or 2 or whatever you needed to cut that down.
Yeah, and this was 2.5 hours, but it didn't feel that way, and the beginning was so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, 5. It earns 5. Not only for spite.
Ooh.
Oh.
Pure
Really?
5.
Wow.
Pure
Pure
5.
A 5.5 out of spite? Or
No, I can't.
That's not how it works.
That's not how it works.
Didn't this movie teach you anything about math? Math is the universal language. You can't just make it up on the spot.
Yeah, but also some things you got to take on faith.
That's true.
Oh.
The 5, the spiteful 0.5 on faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An eccentric billionaire has created the hoax of a spiteful 0.5 rating. Right?
Yep.
Great.
On that list of the small group of people that made it.
Yeah.
What was the name of the Foley artist?
Oh, two Tonys.
Two Tonys. There's like a Tony Eckert and a
Tony
Tony Severa.
Savero.
Or
Two
two
Tony
Tonys doing Foley.
Two Tonys Foley.
All right, 2 Tonys Foley, take one.
Wow, 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 wow.
Hey, Joe Dante here directing the movie. Well, we got Jody walking down the hall. It's real lonely. What can you give me? 2 Tonys.
It's an owl because it's so lonely and dark. Oh.
Also, a wolf is there.
Yeah, there are wolves in the desert, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm Joe Dante. I know about wolves.
Oh, okay. Actually, you do, right? Didn't you make that one Jack Nicholson movie about wolves?
Wolf?
Yeah. Or The Howling,
The Howley. Jack Nicholson's in that?
isn't he?
I don't know.
Hey.
Hey.
Totes Recall is hosted by Molly Chase, Beth Gibbs, Dan Jaquette, and Dan Linden. Produced by Beth Gibbs. New episodes of Totes Recall drop on the 15th of every month. For more information and bonus content, visit us at totesrecall.com. Thank you so much for listening.